I'm going to start with the doom and gloom because by far the shortest price that you can sort of have a bet on Tranmere at the moment is relegation. We're 3-1 to go down still, so that is the shortest price. But I'm hoping it won't come to that, and we won't have to look at that as a bet. We're 10-1 to finish in the top half, which is we're only 7 points off. Let's have a look at the table. 7 points is nothing at this time of year, is it? Where are we? Sort of second week in December. There's a lot of football to be played, and we continue to improve. We bring in a couple of players in January. 7 points is absolutely nothing. So yeah, I certainly wouldn't put off anyone having a couple of quid at 10-1 on us to get in the top half. 150-1 to get in the playoffs, which it does look unlikely, but I think we're 10 points off the playoffs again. It's not really. Is that right? That doesn't sound right, but I'm just checking. Yeah, seventh are on 31 and we're on 21. So yeah, we're 10 points off the playoffs, and you can back that at 150-1. So yeah, crazy price to be honest. I still think it's very, very. We are probably getting carried away as we sit in 21st position on the table, talking about playoffs. But yeah, 150-1 playoffs, 250-1 promotion. So yeah, like I say, the 3-1 relegation looking by far the most likely at the moment. But we are optimistic if nothing else.
Well, I imagine those odds on 3-1 have shifted quite significantly over the past 4 or 5 weeks as well. Tranmere would never, I don't think, have been odds on to go down, but they wouldn't have been far off. You wouldn't have thought.
No, I think we were about 6-4 at our shortest to go down. 6-4, 11-8 was the shortest price I saw on us to get relegated. So, we were certainly in the conversation. Sutton are odds on, they're 8-11, and they've always been one of the favourites, since very early on to go down this year. I suppose Forest Green a little bit more of a surprise, aren't they, to be down there? But yeah, I just hope relegation. Hopefully that's not something we've got to worry about moving forward. A couple more wins, and we can start to look up the table rather than down.
Let's give you some stats then, because Pete Brown is an excellent statistician who has messaged me on Twitter with some information that may temper the enthusiasm of some of you who do think that the top 7 is possible. So this is a fairly lengthy message, but do try and stick with me because it's actually incredibly interesting. So he basically says this. Everything that follows relates to a 46-game 4th division season since the playoffs were introduced in 1987-88. So that covers 31 of the last 36 seasons. 4 of them were withdrawn because they were 42-game campaigns, and then obviously the 2019-20 season was curtailed. So during those 31 seasons that have been 46-game campaigns, the team finishing 7th has had 66 to 78 points at an average of 71.6 per game. During the past 10 seasons, that average has crept up ever so slightly to 72.7. During this period, the teams finishing 7th have had between 69 and 77 points. Tranmere averaged 1 point per game from their first 21 games so far this season. Only one team in the history of League Two during a 46-game campaign has averaged 1 point per game in their opening 21 games of the campaign and gone on to finish 7th with 71 points after collecting 21 points from their 21 opening games. And that was York City in 2013-14. So basically, what we're asking Tranmere to achieve here, if they are going to finish in the season, is nearly finishing the playoffs at the end of the season is nearly unprecedented. Yes, there were the big runs from Bristol Rovers and from Bolton in previous years, but they had a slightly higher points per game at this point of the season compared to what Tranmere do now. So 21 teams have achieved a points per game or higher from their final 21 games than York did. York got 2 points per game to get to that 71-point mark, which is what Tranmere would need to achieve as well. Bolton had 2.12 in 2020-21 from their last 25 games, and Bristol Rovers in 21-22 had 2.16. But both did it, having got 26 points from their first 21 games. Tranmere are going to have to make what is almost unprecedented history if they're going to qualify in the playoffs, basically, Lewis.
Yeah, I mean, we have got previous, haven't we, if we're going on a mad run at the end of the season. Was it under Ray Mathias? Do you remember the mad run we went on? I think it was under Ray Mathias. And
it was. It's 2002-03 when they finished the season 15 games unbeaten and 80 points.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, and didn't get in the playoffs. So, we've got sort of previous for doing that sort of thing. So you wouldn't rule it out. I mean, one thing I'd say about this league as well is, Stockport are going to go up, aren't they? And they're probably going to go up as champions the way things look. I expect Wrexham to probably pull away with them. after that, you go through the rest of the teams, and you're looking in the playoffs at the moment. Crewe are in there, Wimbledon are 7th, Gillingham 8th. You got Accrington 10th, Crawley 11th. These aren't very good teams. I mean, we obviously we beat Gillingham, didn't we? These are teams we're capable of beating, and they're not, brilliantly consistent teams. And one thing I've learned from being in League Two the last couple of years is it's never really a great division. You usually have maybe a team at the top, like Forest Green did that season, or Stockport seem to do this season. You might have one or two teams that are much better than everyone else. But I would argue the difference between the team in 4th and the team in, 17th is very little, but, in terms of quality. And it can often be that signing that you make in January, or that bit of luck with injuries, that makes all the difference. So I wouldn't rule it out completely, but as you say, it's going to take something special. And hopefully, I always see Ray Mathias kicking around. So hopefully we can, pull a bit of inspiration from what he did in that season. Because I just remember that being a ridiculous. Yeah, I was only young at the time. I was probably 12, 13 at that time. But I just remember being a ridiculous run and going to all the games at the end of that season, just thinking, well, we're going to win, aren't we? So hopefully we can reproduce that.